الصعيد من المنيا تقدم مدرسة أونلاين.
A message from the Egyptian children to the whole world.
مدرسة أونلاين معكم فيها علي عبد الحكيم. أهلا بكم أصدقائي الطلبة والطالبات وحلقات تعليم اللغة الإنجليزية في مدرسة أونلاين. تصحبكم خلال هذه الحلقة الأستاذة الدكتورة رشا يوسف، أستاذ الأدب الأمريكي ومدير قطاع التدريب.
Little Red Riding Hood, retold by Larry Don, read by Imelda Staunton.
Good evening and welcome to your program Russia English Cafe. Today we have a different session. As all of us know that we have finished our grammar series, and from the last session we start to have another topic. Today we will have a novel or a short story to be discussed and read together, but in English. Our story today will be to some extent different. So let's tackle the story in English first. أهلا وسهلا بحضراتكم في برنامجكم رشا إنجليش كافيه عبر أثير إذاعة شمال الصعيد. بدأنا مع حضراتكم سلسلة من الصوتيات وخلصناها. بدأنا كمان مع حضراتكم سلسلة من الجرامر وخلصت، والنهاردة هنبدأ مع حضراتكم سلسلة تانية من الشورت ستوريز أو stories for kids. هنقرأ مع حضراتكم مجموعة من الستوريز أو القصص القصيرة المخصصة للأطفال، بس هنتناولها مع حضراتكم تفصيليا باللغة الإنجليزية في الأول. الستوري بتاعتنا النهاردة هتتكلم على أو اسمها Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red Riding Hood، ذات الرداء الأحمر. So let's start. Once upon a time, a little girl wanted to visit her granny in the forest. She wrapped herself in the new red cloak Granny had sewn for her, then picked up her basket. "Carry that carefully, Little Red Riding Hood," said her mother. "It's full of cakes and bottle of lemonade. Don't stop to play in the wood and don't eat the cakes. Just go straight to Granny's cottage." Little Red Riding Hood walked into the forest, deep in the shadow of the trees. She felt like the only person there. She clutched the basket and walked in the middle of the pace. Then she heard the voice. "Hello, little girl." She smiled. She wasn't alone at all. She turned around and saw a handsome wolf leaning against a tree. The wolf smiled, showing her long white teeth. "Where are you off to, my dear?" he asked. "I'm taking cakes to my granny. Would you like bites?" She showed him the cakes in the basket. "No, thank you. I don't eat cake." He smiled again. "Do you have far to go?" "Where is your granny's house?" "She lived in the middle of the forest, in the clearing, with a river running behind the cottage. And she has roses and rock garden and apple trees. She never bothers to look here." Little Red Riding Hood stopped. She shouldn't tell secrets to strangers. The wolf peered into the basket. "Oh dear, you are only taking cakes and lemonade. Once she finished those, she will have nothing to remind her of your visit. Could you take something else? Something which will last a few days?" He frowned and looked around. Little Red Riding Hood looked around. "I could take flowers," she said. "What a clever girl! You can pick flowers on the way. Now I have to go and prepare my lunch, so farewell and be careful in the forest." Little Red Riding Hood waved at the wolf as he loped off through the trees. Then she walked slowly along the winding path, picking a big bunch of flowers. The wolf ran through the forest towards the small cottage. He didn't stop to pick any flowers at all. So he got to Granny's cottage before Little Riding Hood. The wolf knocked at the door. A cracky voice called, "Who's that?" "It's your sweet little granddaughter," sang the wolf in a high, light voice. "I've brought you some cakes. Can I come in?" "Come in, my dear. Come in. The door is open as usual." The wolf opened the door very quietly and stepped inside. The wolf pounded up to the bed, opened his mouth wide, and swallowed Granny in one big gulp. She vanished right into his belly, slippers and glasses and all. The wolf purred and rubbed his belly. Then he wriggled into Granny's spare night tie and spare nightcap and smuggled down into bed. Little Red Riding Hood stepped through the open door. "Hello, Granny." She put the flour into a vase, put the cakes on a plate, then opened the curtains. When she saw Granny in the sunlight, she said, "Granny, what big hands you have!" "All the better to hug you with," the wolf whispered. She opened the window. When she saw a pretty ruffle, Granny's ears, she said, "Granny, what big ears you have!" "All the better to hear you with," the wolf said. She lit the fire. When she saw Granny's face in the firelight, she said, Granny, what big eyes you have! All the better to see you with. The wolf chuckled. Little Red Riding Hood carried the cakes over to the bed. When Granny groaned, she said, Granny, what big teeth you have! All the better to eat you with. The wolf opened his mouth wide and swallowed Little Red Riding Hood in one big gulp. She vanished right into his belly, cloaked and big tails and all. The wolf purred, rubbed his belly, and lay back down. The wolf was full of Granny and full of a little girl, and the bed was warm and soft. Soon he began to snore. The hunter, tracking animals in the forest, heard the snores. That sounds like a wolf. He thought he followed the sounds to Granny's cottage, looked through the window, and saw the wolf with his bulging belly snoring on the bed. I wonder what that wolf has eaten today, thought the hunter. His belly looks enormous. The hunter tiptoed into the cottage and used his knife to cut the wolf's belly wide open. Out came Little Red Riding Hood, coughing and spluttering. Out came Granny, sneezing and snuffling. The wolf was still snoring. Little Red Riding Hood thanked the hunter. Let's make sure that wolf never eats anyone else. She ran out to the garden and dug up 7 heavy stones, which she pushed into the wolf's empty belly. She stitched the wolves up with some thread she found in Granny's work basket. Then the hunter, Little Red Riding Hood, and Granny hid behind the curtain. The wolf walked up. He stretched and purred and scratched. Then he grabbed a bottle of lemonade and gulped it down. I'm still thirsty. That Granny must have been too salty. He grabbed the other bottle and gulped it down. I'm still thirsty. The little girl must have been too sweet. So the wolf went outside to get a drink from the river. When he bent down, the stones in his belly tipped him right into the water, and he was too heavy to get back out. That was the end of the wolf, Little Riding Hood. So the wolf went outside to get a drink from the river. When he bent down, the stone in his belly tipped him right into the water, and he was too heavy to get back out. That is the end of the wolf. The hunter returned to the forest with a bucket full of cakes. Granny locked her door when she went to bed, and Little Red Riding Hood never turned around to talk to strangers again. نرجع نكمل مع حضراتكم أو نرجع نقول ملخص الستوري أو القصة باللغة العربية. والقصة قصة ليلى والذئب، ودي من القصص الخرافية اللي ألفها الكاتب الفرنسي تشارل بيرو. والقصة دي على فكرة حازت على شهرة كبيرة وسط الأطفال أو وسط الناس. القصة بتتكلم عن بنت صغيرة اسمها ليلى. مامتها طلبت منها ان هي تاخد الكيك والعصير وتروح لجدتها في الغابة اللي كانت تسكن في الغابة، عشان جدتها ست كبيرة، فعشان توصل لها الكيك والأكل والحاجات دي. وقالت لها يا ليلى ما تكلميش حد طول ما انتي ماشية، don't talk with a stranger، ما تتكلميش مع حد غريب، وما تقوليش لأن هي لسه صغيرة، وما تقوليش لأي حد انتي رايحة فين، أو ما تتكلميش مع حد غريب. بس هي ليلى ما سمعتش كلام مامتها للأسف، وقابلت الذئب في الغابة. والذئب بيقول لها، هي طبعا ليلى كانت لابسة رداء أحمر أو قبعة حمراء، وهي في الطريق شافت الذئب ده، فالذئب طلب منها ان هي تلعب معاه، فهي رفضت وقالت له انها رايحة عند بيت جدتها عشان تودي لها الاكل اللي مامتها ادته لها. فقال لها، اقترح عليها الذئب حاجة ان هي تجمع او تاخد ورد معاها لجدتها عشان تديه لجدتها. فسمعت كلام الذئب، بس طبعا وهي بتتكلم معاه قالت له ان جدتي ساكنة فين وبتسيب باب البيت مفتوح، وجدتي ست كبيرة. فالذئب وقتها كان عاوز جعان، فكان عاوز ياكل، ولقى ان هي بنت صغيرة وسهل يضحك عليها، فسابها بسرعة وجري راح على بيت جدتها وخبط الباب. لما جدتها سألته مين اللي على الباب، قالت لها انا. قال لها انا ليلى، او انا بنتك، انا ليلى، جايب لك الاكل، جايبه لك الاكل. ودخل بسرعة أكل جدتها ولبس لبسها ونام في سريرها. ولما دخلت ليلى مش واخدة بالها ومش شايفة، فبتقول لها جدتي انتي مالك ودانك كبيرة ليه؟ قالت لها عشان اسمعك بيهم. عينيكي كبيرة ليه؟ قالت لها عشان اشوفك اكتر بيهم. قالت لها بقك كبير ليه؟ فما هنا راحت قالت لها عشان اكلك بيهم. وهجم الذئب على ليلى، كان قبلها كان اكل جدتها. بعد ما اكل الذئب ليلى واكل جدتها، شافوا حطاب او واحد في الغابة بيجمع الحطب، فشافوا ان بطنه كبيرة قوي واكيد في حاجة غلط عملها الذئب. فطبعا الحطاب ده طلع يجري عشان ينقذ ليلى وينقذ جدتها، وقتل الذئب بالتعاون مع وخرج ليلى وخرج جدتها من بطن الذئب. طبعا الحكاية خرافية من الأول والآخر، لأن أكيد أكلها فمش هينفع يخرجهم تاني. بس دي القصة اللي كانت مشهورة. كان في رواية تانية طبعا بيحكيها الجد الذئب، يعني ابن الذئب. وطبعا الحاجة دي خرافية شوية. احنا عندنا مقولة بتقول ستظل كل القصص تمجد ليلى إلى أن يتعلم الذئب الكتابة. فاحنا سمعنا القصة من ليلى، ما سمعناهاش من الذئب طبعا. بس أعتقد إن هي مش هتبقى أحسن من كده. نسمع الستوري بالإنجليش، أتمنى إن هي تكون تعجبكم. هنكمل مع حضراتكم في سلسلة الستوري دي. Stay tuned. أشوفكم على ألف خير وسلامة. دكتور رشا يوسف. Goodbye.